The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Laugh like the sun always shines, spinning wheel, fun times, and there's always something to remember, always something to consider.
Hi, this is Katreese Barnes and Something to Consider. Tonight's part 3 of my chat with astrologist Laurie St Claire. Hey, Laurie, still there?
Still here, Katreese.
Okay. Last time we were speaking about astrology and how people can kind of poo-poo it, and I think partially it's because you see these generalized horoscopes in magazines and newspapers.
Right.
When there's really a lot more to it than that.
Oh, definitely. I do think, the stuff that's in the newspaper, the magazines, or online, the little blurbs, they're more for fun. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to like to read the newspaper horoscopes for my sun's sign at the end of the day to see if it came true. So the thing with those is that they're very general, and no one wants to be generalized. If you have, you're born, you have your astrology chart, it's very, what do I want to say, personalized to you. To me, it's like astrological DNA. There's a certain combination that is unique to you. And even with twins, I have twin brothers, they're very different. And that has to do also with the free will and their own consciousness. But even, 4 minutes in the astrology, it makes a difference. They're going to have a lot of similarities, but the way that the planets fall in the chart, and then their relationship to each other and where they are, an astrology chart is divided into 12 segments, which we call houses. And those houses represent areas of life. And so you can tell where there might be an emphasis in someone's life just because a planet is occupying that house, or maybe there's a bunch of planets occupying that house. So when you have your astrology chart read by an astrologer, you're really getting your own individualized forecast, and it's very specific. People are mind blown. A lot of times it kind of makes me laugh. I had this one client, and in the middle of the reading, she just burst out, and this was a phone reading. I hadn't even met her in person, and she burst out and said, "Have you been following me all my life?" So, it wouldn't still be around if there wasn't anything to it.
Now, if somebody was born on the same day at the same time, would they have similar experiences? Say in the same hospital.
Yes, yeah, they would have similar experiences. It's very fascinating to me. People will have similar experiences, but then again, it's kind of back to the psychological thing of nature versus nurture, the whole environment that someone is grown in. You can have a seed, the same seed, and plant it in two different environments, and it's going to react very differently. So those are things to take into consideration as well.
So when you do a reading on somebody, do you ever ask them for like their parents' birth dates and times as well, co-workers, just to see?
I don't. Sometimes people will want me to, look at their partner's chart or something like that. and then I can look at it in relationship to theirs. But often you can see in the person's chart the relationship with their mother, the relationship with their father, the types of relationships they're going to have in general. So there's so much that is just held within their own birth chart. But as well, like you said, the thing about people being born on the same day, same hospital, I see patterns in families because, as a family unit, you'll be having similar experiences. And often that can be where planets will be at the same degree. Like everyone in my family, and there's 8 of us, has a planet or more than one planet at 21 degrees. It doesn't necessarily mean it's in the same sign. So, some of us do have them in the same sign, but anytime something in the sky gets to the degree of 20 or 21, it starts to, relate to that planet in my chart and in everybody's chart in my family. So that's kind of where you can see how in families you can have the same thing happen, but people have different experiences of it.
Okay. Now, I was wondering, if, how do you say this? If somebody is in the same family, no, not in the same family. Say, for example, you read someone's chart, say, when they're like, I don't know, early 20s. Can you see when they'll have children, or is it more this would be a good time for you to have children?
Yeah, to me, because I like to, I'm not super predictive because, like I said, the astrology that I practice is about free will and, having the freedom to make the best decisions possible. But I will definitely, if I, see there can be certain transits that would indicate that a pregnancy might be likely, and then I might say, if you do want to have children, this would probably be a better time to try, or if you don't, make sure you're using birth control, stuff like that.
Yeah, or like can you see if they might be in a better financial position at a certain time period for family?
Yeah, definitely, all of those things, are indicated, through certain things. And also, you always have to go back to the birth chart, what's called the natal chart, and see kind of what's there, because I look at that as like what tools you have in this lifetime. And, sometimes people are more, in this lifetime that, finances aren't going to be such a worry. And other people, they might struggle more than other people, but they'll have periods where it's easier or better. There are certain signatures that can indicate great wealth. I mean, just like, for instance, a Pluto-Jupiter aspect is often a signature of great wealth or the ability to manifest great wealth. So, does that answer your question?
I think so. I was just trying to see if, because, those people who end up saying having families and maybe not necessarily being completely prepared for it financially, if they had gotten a reading or something that maybe there would have been more guidance in terms of like holding off or, that sort of thing. Oh,
definitely. That's a good way to use astrology. Exactly. In fact, the timing of things and specifically if it's good, like if they do have specific worries about things like that, to ask. Usually when I'm doing an astrology reading for someone, I can see. I usually like to get to the questions after, when the person comes to me. I don't usually like to have the questions beforehand because I don't like to kind of have a preconceived idea. I like to see what the astrology says and then talk to them and then take their questions. But it is good to have questions if there's something specific that that might be a concern, especially if you're making big decisions like that. It's a really good idea if you're thinking about getting married, and what challenges might come up in the partnership, and what's good, what might be difficult.
I see. So, did you go somewhere to study? I mean, I'm sure you studied different places, but how does that? Where does an astrologist study?
Well, it depends. Nowadays, there's a lot of online schools, and people that teach. In England, there's the Center for Psychological Astrology. There's a few in the UK, and gosh, this is terrible, but I can't remember exactly. But there was a college, I think it's only online now, in Seattle. That was an actual college, Kepler College. But I studied, I kind of started on my own, but then I mainly mentored with people. My mentor, who just passed away last year, I studied with her for 16 years, and I would go to her house every week for 16 years. And I studied with her individually and with a group of us. And then I also did an apprenticeship with another astrologer, Stephen Forrest, who's an evolutionary astrologer. And then I also would attend the conferences and workshops that the large astrological organizations would put on. So that way you get to see international astrologers and people from other countries and stuff like that.
Do you think the mentorship was better than, say, studying online?
I can't say for sure because I didn't do that much studying online, so I can't really compare. I personally like in person. I think there's an energy exchange, and there's a bonding that happens. Hopefully, that might be another thing of the Uranus and Taurus, is where we actually physically want to get together with people and learn about new things. Astrology, Uranus actually rules. Uranus rules astrology, but there's a lot of people in places that don't have access to astrology teachers. I'm lucky that I'm in Los Angeles, and there's a lot of resources here. But now online, you can learn with a lot of different people. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I would think that in a private class in person, you might hear things that somebody may not necessarily speak upon in an online environment where you have to be a little bit more, I don't know.
Yes,
PC, yeah, antiseptic,
I totally agree. And there's that whole thing of just the person's experience in the wisdom that they've gone through. I mean, my teacher was an astrologer for over 40 years. She's fantastic.
What's her name?
What's that?
What was her name?
Gloria Stein.
Laurie Stein, okay.
Yeah, and she loved it. I mean, I love astrology. It's really a passion of mine, and I think it's a wonderful tool for people to be able to use, if they have an astrologer, or even, to learn things on their own. Just, really basic stuff. I know for some people it can be kind of overwhelming, but just even some basic knowledge so that like, for instance, a lot of people know about Mercury retrograde.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
I said, oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like Mercury retrograde, and just knowing when Mercury's going to go retrograde and where it's going to fall in your chart when it goes retrograde, you can kind of better know, okay, that's going to be affecting more of this area of my life. And just to be prepared.
Right.
So, that's just a basic, helpful tool.
Now, how often should somebody check in with an astrologist? Like,
I always recommend like once a year. Some people like to do it kind of every time, something big comes up or they need to make a decision, and just to get some other feedback, not to get the answer, but to get other feedback that they may not be considering, like the title of your show, something to consider. Love it. That's the most that we can ask for in life, is to just stop, think a minute. And with the astrology, it can open up a lot of perspectives that you might not have been considering. So even, maybe once, every 4 months, kind of like what's going on with the seasons, kind of what's coming up. So, there's no rule of thumb. It's really, I kind of leave it to the person.
do you have people who come every 4 months?
I do. I do have people that come every 4 months, and it's great. And particularly, there are people usually that they're moving through some kind of big thing, like, starting a business, going through a divorce, changing careers, and so it's pretty much, astrological life coaching.
Right, for sure. Especially if you're about to embark on a big, I don't know, life change.
Exactly. Or you're just feeling, like, where do I go now? What do I do now? And like you said, the whole thing of everybody right now going, what the is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. And just making sense and just being like, okay, course correction.
So you say we have about 7 years of this, though, right?
Yeah, so Uranus will be in Taurus until July of 2025, and so that's just that particular planet. And then the Chiron is going to be in, did I write this down? Chiron will be in Aries until June of 2026. So, those particular things will be, up front for us collectively. But then as they move through the signs that they're going through, they will affect our charts in different ways because it will be in different relationship, the planets that we have in our own chart.
So it's important for people to act out on their free will to make the shifts and changes.
Right.
Where you're saying the alignments are creating these opportunities or these challenges.
Exactly. That's the thing. And life, it's like when you're in school and you didn't pass that class, well, then maybe you need to go to a tutor, but you got to take that class again. And, if you don't, make that effort, the universe is just going to keep providing you with opportunities to learn whatever it is, that you need to be learning. So that's one of the great things about astrology is kind of getting the heads up on, okay, what is this challenge? What is this focus? And also, what are the beneficial aspects that are going on right now? Because a lot of times we tend to focus on, this is really difficult, and kind of miss the opportunity that's kind of the easy flowing thing.
Mm-hmm. So how can someone get in contact with you for a reading?
I am on Facebook at Sweet Life Astrology. I also have a website, sweetlifeastrology.com, and oh my goodness, I can give you my number.
I don't know if you want to do your number here.
Sorry, I'm just having a technical problem here. 1 second.
Okay. Yeah. Well, most people do go to websites now too. But
yeah. I just sorry, spacing out there 1 second. Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Sweet Life Astrology. That's probably the best place to get me. You know, my website, Sweet Life Astrology. I like, called it Sweet Life Astrology because we've got a choice, and we want to try to make this the best life possible we can here.
And you can do readings on the phone, right? Or Skype.
Yeah. I can do it, on the phone, on Skype, on the computer, in person. It's all the same.
That's a good thing about this technology now. Is if you find somebody good, especially good for you, you can, just dial them up.
Yeah, exactly. That's the great thing about the technology and that connection and just being able to reach across the globe.
So with this energy going on right now, this planetary alignment, are we going to have any relief this year?
That is one of the most common questions I get is, when's it going to get better? And I always, my standard response is, it doesn't get better, you get better. And, that might not be, what people want to hear, but it's very true, is that, the outside circumstances are always changing. And the thing that we have control over is internally how we change and how we grow with the things that are going on.
Oh, yeah. I guess it's sometimes hard to see that when it's this level of complexity. Definitely.
I hear you, and I concur. And, I was just recently talking about that and saying, boy, I think one of the biggest challenges right now, one of the biggest benefits is our opportunity to really have to hone our ability of gratitude and seeing the things that we're thankful for and the things that we appreciate, because there's a lot of things out there right now that are kind of in our face that I think we're not really appreciating. We don't, no, there are things that we would not have chosen to be experiencing.
Oh, yeah, just to wake up and have a good meal should create gratitude. And it's easy to forget that when you turn on the news.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, it's a big distraction, these, the terrible news, and there's not a lot of good going on the TV.
Yeah, well, they're just feeding their audience, because I believe most of these channels ratings are up now.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Most of the news channels ratings are up now.
Because they're putting out such bad news?
Well, they're feeding what the audience wants.
Right. Well, the thing is that people, unfortunately, people are getting very they're getting, desensitized,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing. Hopefully, that the transit of Uranus and Taurus is that it does get us back to some simplicity and to something that's real and concrete instead of just like you said, reality TV. I mean, what an oxymoron that is.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Well, this has been a great discussion, these past 3 shows, and I thank you for being here. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Katreese. I just, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. You always have such an open mind and so many interesting things to talk about, and thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe you should come back later on in the year and we can revisit how things have changed.
Right. See what's going on.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Cool. Well, that's our show, Something to Consider. Join me every Thursday at 9 p.m. I'll be here. Bye.
Through the night, made me feel so right. And there's always something to remember, always something to consider. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.